How's it growing, everybody? Steve Rock from Abomination Films. I'm here today to talk to you about my garden once again. This is episode 2. We're going to be talking about raised beds and in-ground beds and why you might want to do either one. And then this one is one I started today for less than $40. It's something that you could do at home, and I want to show you how. So by trying out new products like this resin bed and new techniques, like when we start those potatoes in containers soon, including boxes, just plain old cardboard boxes, that's all stuff to help you try to be more sustainable at home. So this is something you could start in a small space. You don't need to have a huge fenced off area. You don't need to have a big field to go out there with a tractor and till up and mow and get it all set up with rows and rows and rows of different veggies and corn and whatever. You don't need to have that. You can just start small. Any of these things are going to help you save money. And especially in this current climate that we're in, every dollar counts. You know, the grocery store's not getting any cheaper, and we're all going to be a bit healthier and a bit wealthier if we just go ahead and make some of our own crops. There she is, the garden guardian, keeping watch. Puppy girl. Say hi to the camera. Another beautiful morning here in upstate New York, Zone 5B. It's going to be about 65 degrees today. It's Wednesday the 19th. So we just had some really cold weather the last 2 days. It was about 30 or 20 degrees at night. We had frost this morning. So I just want to take off my cover for the moment because I don't want it to get too hot in here. And I want you to be able to see how the strawberries are doing and that we've given them the best possible chance for growing here in Zone 5B now that they've been uncovered from their winter mulch. So this is the greenhouse I put over the strawberries. It's got a nice window here that you just unzip. And you can just unzip it if you want to just let the cool air out. But today's a really nice sunny day. It's going to get to about 65. So I want to keep this off. You know, just open it up for the sun for as long as I can today. So that way they get some more of that nice natural sunlight. And I don't know if you can see yet, but some of these garlic shoots are looking pretty good. You can definitely smell that they're in there. And this came with these straps that you use to hold the rolled up screen there. So that way I can come out and just rezip this, before the night comes, and we can make sure that these plants stay nice and warm, especially overnight. I'm going to put the camera down here so you can see how it's going. So far so good. It looks like the garlic shoots are really starting to take off, and we've got all of the strawberries perking up and starting to stick out of their mulch. It won't be long before I'll be able to do some real work in here. So we're off to the stores. We're going to get Leila a bath, and we're going to see if we can find ourselves raised beds so I can show you just how cheap and easy this can be. Puppy girl got a bath. She needed it. Rolled around in something like all dogs do. And I went to the garden center and I picked up a few things. So we're going to be setting up a raised bed today. And I want to talk about why I chose to do raised beds versus doing a in-ground farming. So the real reason is because the same reason I had to do the fences in this weird way with concrete blocks. This property is extremely rocky. So there's not really a way that you can safely guarantee a plant to have a foot or more of growing space. So I try to cheat that a little bit by doing raised beds where as long as I get 5-6 inches of soil in there, I'm sure that there's going to be enough room for the plant to grow healthy, pretty much whatever plant it is. Now, there are neighbors of mine that do it in the ground and they seem to have better luck. I just think this particular property is very rocky. But my uncle, years ago, was able to, on a different part of this property, put an in-ground garden in, and he grew lots of good stuff. He grew eggplants and tomatoes and cucumbers and all sorts of things. And that's sort of where I got some of my experience as a kid, was helping him in the garden and then also helping other relatives in their gardens. I wasn't able to find the same exact beds that I got last year. Those were just a little bit cheaper, and I liked them because they were made of wood and they snapped together almost like Legos. Um, Unfortunately, the store that I bought them from doesn't seem to be carrying them this year. So I went to a different store and I was able to get this raised bed. So you can build your own. You just need some heat treated, not pressure treated wood, and to just make a box and screw it together. You can get more ornate than that. You can make multiple layers. You can add braces. You can make a U like I was rebuilding here. But for the price of $20, I was able to put in a raised bed. So we put in 4 of them last year, and they've just been really nice. I have no problems with their quality. So I'm going to try something new this year. This one I got for $25, and it appears to be made of a plastic, and it has spikes that hold the corners together, and it's sort of modular. You can make it either 2 high or 1 wide, and it's a pretty good ground space. I'm not sure how big I really want to make it, because the only thing I plan on growing in here is pumpkins. They do need a good amount of space, but I don't know if I need to use this whole thing for it. We'll see as I unpack it and get it going. But I also bought 2 bags each of composted cow manure and topsoil, and these just happen to be the things that were on sale. They were about $4 or $5 a bag. Watch out. So first step, obviously taking it out of the box. Might end up using that box too. So yeah, like I was saying, these are kind of like adult Legos, where you just kind of fit them together, and then you can change the angle. It looks like to do a right angle, it's actually made like this. There's little notches on the top that it can go right through there, and then you drop your stake in, and I suppose the stake's supposed to hold it in the ground as well. Yep, so that's how that corner is going to work. Not really sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but being modular, it's pretty easy. And once again, this is things that you can have options at home. This could make you 2 small garden beds or 1 nice size big bed, depending on what you decided to do with it. Now this stuff I'm not going to move far away, because I want to use this as I fill the bed. So here we are. I got the bed set up. It's not perfect. Once again, this property has a lot of problems with trying to dig down, so I couldn't get all the stakes to stay down. But for a $25 bed and sort of a modular experiment that I'm trying the pumpkins this way, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to keep them this way. I have a little bit of space to the fence, so hopefully before they grow that way too much, I can see and train them a different direction. But otherwise, they can spread out 3 ways as far as they want without bothering me or my lawn as far as having to mow or anything. I'll just put more chicken wire around and keep them safe. But that's why we're going to do this. And now the next step is to add cardboard to the bottom. That's to block all these weeds and everything from being able to come up. And then you throw a layer of, I'm going to use a lot of this stuff that was actually old growth from the garden and leaves. And then on top of that, I'm going to add the dirt. And the reason that I'm not too concerned about it being very deep with pumpkins is that they're going to grow in mounds. I'm going to mound up soil on the top. So they're going to have extra height just from that as well. So we got the cardboard just about set here. Is it a perfect block? No. But if I decide to keep this bed or replace it with another, this will act as the first level of a new layer of soil, because this will all break down, and then all the leaves and twigs on top of it will break down as well. And it'll just all become nice bed soil over the course of time. And for the immediate start, it'll act as a blocker pretty effectively. Alright, so this is one of those jobs you definitely want to get gloves for, because I'm going to be using a razor to cut open the bags, and also because some of this is cow manure. Do you really want to just stick your bare hands in the cow manure? I don't. So anyway, first going to take the bags out. We've got some topsoil. I'm not brand specific. This happens to be Scott's. This actually has a little bit of peat moss in it too, it seems. I just bought it because it was on sale. Usually I avoid peat moss because specifically with peat moss, it's not really the best thing for the environment where they harvest it. So usually I'll use cocoa coir instead, which is basically shred up coconut shells, and it acts the same way and it breaks down in a similar way, and it's just a lot better for the environment. But this has it in it, and it was the stuff that was on sale. Like I said, you know, the goal was to do all of this for as cheaply as possible. So for about $35, $40, you can put a raised bed in your garden right now today if you have a clean spot for it. So that's what I wanted to show. And this is the hummus and manure. This is cow manure. It's also Scott's. I don't know why Scott's is on sale, but just happened to be $5 a bag for both. And I said, sounds good. Now, with the way I filled it with the other stuff and it being a very low bed, I think I could get away with mixing just the two of them and then adding as an extra bonus some of this garden tone, which is a 344 fertilizer. That refers to the numbers as far as the nutrients that are in it. And you want to usually use a balanced one. So when you see numbers like 555, 344 is pretty balanced. First thing, of course, you're going to need a razor. And if you have a wheelbarrow, it's a great thing. If you don't have a wheelbarrow, you could do this right in the bed. I did that originally. I didn't have this as my first year. So now I've got it. And I'm going to start with some manure. It's a nice black manure. It's a little on the smelly side. But it's cow manure and it's hummus mixed together. One thing your shovel can be good for the moment, weighing down the bags so they don't blow away on you. It's a windy day. And then next up I got the topsoil. And this also has the peat moss in it. Because there's a lot of sticks and stuff in this. which all of that breaks down into more soil as well. You almost can't tell it apart. You know, it's the first time this year I'm really getting to smell dirt, and it's very nice. I don't know, there's something about the smells in the garden that help like wake you up from your caveman status, you know? Just something primordial in it where you smell that fresh dirt and you just, ooh, me make food. I'm gonna dump a bunch more of this fertilizer. Don't want to use all of it. I want to save some of this, because I'm going to mix some of this in to my seed starting mix just to give it some extra oomph. And I know a lot of people don't recommend that, but like I say, I have a long growing season inside and a very short window to get them in the ground and have it perfect. And by adding a little bit of fertilizer into my seed mix, and I just use generic seed mix usually bought from the store, because it's very fine, very nice. Seedlings seem to love it. And so by adding just a little bit of this stuff in there, it'll help the seedlings get stronger and have a little bit of extra time inside, you know, my little greenhouse inside, as well as my grow lights. And then eventually I harden them by bringing them out and setting them outside. And sometimes, because I work a day job usually, I'll have to put them out in the morning and then just bring them in when I get home. And usually I have pretty good results. So after we got it all mixed up, you know, we've got this nice soil. And some of it is hard sticks. So this isn't the kind of thing you want to start your seedlings in. But this is nice for raised beds. If you were to do this to add to your topsoil, if you were to dig your own in-ground garden, this would be a good additive, a good topping to start with. You want to still add fresh compost every year, and you want to always add the right fertilizers for the right plants and at the right times. There's a lot of like things that you learn as you go. Plants teach you, so you can look it up. We have great resources on Google, and for example, this video and lots of other YouTube channels out there that talk about specific plants. They're all great resources. So you can learn a lot doing that. And then, of course, the plants will mostly tell you by whether they were successful or whether they didn't be successful. My wife got me this nice bench. It also came with a knee pad. It's actually reversible, so this is a knee pad, a kneeling pad as well. I like to use it as the bench since it came with the removable one there. But this is the mulch. It's the same mulch I use in the rest of the garden. I'm also going to be using it in the past this year. And you might ask, why mulch? Why do you use mulch? You know, I'm a big proponent of using things that both make my life easier and give me a better harvest. So, for example, this straw is the same stuff I use in the strawberries because it lets the strawberries grow on a barrier between the soil and the ground, and that keeps it from rotting, and it keeps any bugs from coming up and eating the fruit before I get a chance to. Additionally, it insulates the soil. It protects it against losing moisture from the sun beating down on it and from the air going across it. High wind can suck the water out of the ground just as fast as a hot summer day. And it'll additionally break down over time into just more soil. That's why it's something I don't feel bad at ever putting into my compost, because it's just adding more carbon to the compost. And if I till it up into the soil as well, I don't feel bad about that either, because once again, I'm just adding more organic material to the soil. This stuff breaks down relatively fast once it's in that kind of place. When it's piled up, it stays for a season or two. And usually you have to redo your mulch every year just to make sure it's nice and fresh and working for you. The other thing is that there are some hazards and dangers where certain things, especially pests, can grow in certain types of mulches. So you want to make sure what's good in your area. Straw mulch is kind of benign. It's pretty easy to locally source. It doesn't cost very much. Sometimes you can get it for free. And it's just very clean, very easy to work with. It breaks down easily. There's a lot of benefits to using this, but a lot of people will use wood chips. They'll use cedar chips. They'll use all sorts of different synthetic stuff. Sometimes they'll use even rocks, especially like around trees and on pathways, they'll use rocks. That's all really nice, but I kind of like using this just because I know it's not doing anything bad to my environment. All it's going to do is just add more to any soil it goes on. So I got my watering can, and I'm just going to wet this down so it won't fly off everywhere. I'm just going to evenly throw a nice amount of water all across. Right now I'm going to leave it unprotected because there's nothing growing in it. We've just got it covered in mulch to keep anything from starting, as far as your weeds, your grasses, dandelions. And then when it's time to start the pumpkins, I'm going to move the mulch out of the way, make big mounds, and plant my pumpkin seeds right inside. So I've got 4 bags of soil in here, a layer of mulch, and then everything else was basically free because the bottom layer is cardboard, sticks, and leaves. And that's all stuff that I either have just from like regular life as far as cardboard goes. So there's a lot of trees that fell around here, so I was able to get a bunch of sticks, limbs, break them all up, snap them up, put them on top of the cardboard. This should be good for the next couple weeks. As time goes on, everything underneath will start to break down. I'll get more soil from the bottom as the leaves start to rot. The big twigs obviously won't break down right away. That'll take a few years, but they'll add more drainage holes and let everything get in there. We tapped everything down real good so there wasn't any air pockets, but it'll allow water to drain through and not be so held up because the structure of those twigs intertwined in there will allow the water to go through almost like a sieve or like your colander in your kitchen. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you saw how you can start a raised bed at home and whether or not you wanted to do a garden bed in your ground. You know, there is no wrong answer. Both ways produce a lot of fruit. I just happen to be stuck with raised beds based on the challenges of my own particular situation. Your soil might be different. You might not be as rocky. You might be more sandy. That'll help with things like carrots. There's a lot of different soils and there's a lot of ways that you can add to your soil, especially after you've cut the ground and dug it up and tilled it up. You can add a lot of things to your soil such as cow manure, compost, fertilizers, sand, anything like that to make it as loomy and nice as possible. In either case, you're creating your own soil by tilling up the ground or by putting it in a raised bed. And in my case, by putting in a raised bed, I'm just getting extra height for the roots to be able to grow in. Because around here with all these rocks, I can't be sure that there's enough growing space for a lot of plants. This is my best way to get my best chances to have a good harvest every year. Happy first day of spring, everybody. So you can't really tell too much because we got about an inch of snow last night. That's already started to melt. This really wasn't a big deal as far as snowstorms go in this area. But I wanted to show you just how wildly this climate can swing. So you can see that's our pumpkin bed that we just started 2 days ago. It was 65 degrees that day. It's been like 50 to 70. Last 4 or 5 days with really cold nights overnight. It's gonna get a little bit warmer. Most of this stuff's gonna melt, but we're not expecting to see that really, really warm temperatures again for another couple days. So I had to come out here just to brush the snow off my greenhouse, make sure that I still have good weather protection. We didn't unzip this. I want to leave it with as much warm air in there trapped as possible, but it can't get warmer if you don't have any more light getting in. So I'm just going to knock the snow off of here. Thanks for dropping by the garden today. I hope you enjoyed the show. We were trying to do something a little more topical than our previous episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. It's going to really help the channel grow. Also, if you can have any comments or questions, you put them down below on our feed here. We'll try to answer them as best we can. I'm just an idiot with a shovel, but if my experience can help you, I'd love to. Also, we're looking for any topics that you'd like to see us cover. We have a bunch of ideas for topics in the future. Next week, for example, it's going to be a pretty rainy week. So we're going to do something a little bit different where we're going to do stuff inside, where we're going to be starting our seeds, and I'll show you how I have it set up for starting my seedlings and giving them a good chance to get started inside. And I actually have a trick for tomatoes specifically. It's called the double cup method. You've probably seen it in other gardening videos if you've watched them. But it's a way to put a seedling into a cup and keep adding more dirt as it gets bigger. And tomatoes keep sprouting more roots along their stems. And you put more nutrients and more soil in as it goes. And by the time it's ready to go in the garden, it's a bulletproof, muscle building, ready to go tomato. So it's a really cool, really quick way for me to be able to get started every season. And the tomato plants end up being really strong. It's one of the very few things that I will start before April 1st because it was successful last year. So I wanted to mention also for the monthly movie challenge, we just had a new video drop. It's called Funny Business, about 2 minutes long. And it's a pretty funny little sci-fi oriented short. So we just wanted to thank the 5-minute movie challenge for letting us be able to exercise our creative muscles. We're excited to see what the next theme is. For March 2025, the theme was time travel. Our short should have just dropped on both our YouTube channel and as part of the program for the monthly movie challenge. We encourage you to go check it out there. And also any other filmmakers in the area or in abroad that would like to submit to that. They just did the virtual screening this last weekend. They'll be announcing the next theme soon. And all you got to do is just make your own movie within 5 minutes long and submit it to them. And they seem to take everything from wild and wacky to funny and zany. As far as I know, they screen most of, if not all of their shorts. And if you have any questions or comments about that, I encourage you to go check out their YouTube or their social media. So we encourage you to please like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. If you have any questions about any topics that you'd like to see us cover, you can leave those down below as well. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for stopping by the garden.